for joining us today. My name is Caroline Silva. I'm a VP of Marketing here at invenioLSI, and we are so excited today to have you all on to talk about content financials. We're doing this presentation jointly with SAP, and so it's really been kind of an honor to work with them alongside with them to bring you this content today. So we can just go ahead and move to the next slide here. So I want to go over our agenda and what we'll be speaking about today. First, we're just going to do a little bit of an overview on invenioLSI for those of you who don't know us or might be new to us. Next, we're going to go through the challenges in media and entertainment market that we're kind of seeing today. We'll go over cost control and process integration. We're also going to do an overview of the digital core S/4HANA and SAP media ecosystem. And then we're going to jump into a demo. So that's going to be a 7-minute demo that you'll see from us today on content financials. And then lastly, we'll go over those benefits. We'll have a little bit of a panel discussion, and then of course an opportunity for you to ask questions as well. So we could go ahead to the next slide. Great. So this is invenioLSI at a glance. For those of you who, like I said, don't know us or unfamiliar with us or might know us under a different name, we are invenioLSI. We are award-winning premier global SAP partner. We're actually a gold partner with SAP, and we've worked with SAP for over 24 years. So we have quite the relationship with them, and like I said, are truly honored to have them on this presentation today with us. I mentioned we're a global company. So we have about 1,400 employees, over 16 different offices in 11 different countries. So we're really scattered all over the globe, bringing our expertise to different areas here, and especially, of course, in media entertainment. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we have a really strong technical team, right? 400 plus strong technical team. Their unique expertise is in, new generations and rare skills. And so that's kind of invenioLSI in a nutshell. If you want to learn more, you can always go to our website, which is www.inveniolsi.com. Meet our team, reach out to our team, and learn a little bit more about what we offer. So that is our company, and you can go to the next slide. So media and entertainment specifically, right? These are our current active media and entertainment customers. And so some of you might be on the call today. And for those of you who are on the call, thank you so much for joining us. We of course love working with you and love when you participate and join our content. So just a couple to name a few. We have Universal Music Studios, we have Star, Informa, Dow Jones, News UK, the Times Group, Penguin Random House Publishing, the Globe and Mail, and then of course Wiley as well. So like I said, if you're on this call, thanks so much for joining. We're excited to have you. Awesome. So now let's get into our panelists today. We have a really great lineup of panelists for you to hear from. All of them come with a unique perspective and expertise in the media and entertainment and SAP area. Like I said, my name is Caroline Silva. I'm our VP of Marketing, and now I'm just going to let our panelists introduce themselves. So let's first start with James here.
Hi, thank you very much, Caroline. I'm James Maysonet. I head up invenioLSI's media and entertainment vertical. I've been in the industry for over 23 years, worked with pretty much every single studio in some shape or form, from strategy and transformation, operations, supply chain, through content security and more. Might be broad, but I have a lot of depth in this industry. Also working with video game companies and the music industry. And very happy to be here, and I'm very glad to see or to know that so many people have joined. And I'll pass this on to Shyam Jajodia.
Thank you, James. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, great. So I'm Shyam Jajodia. I'm responsible for solution architecture here at invenioLSI. I've been working in multiple industries with SAP for the last 24 years. So we're looking forward to bringing the power of SAP to all those folks who are looking for a new solution, and also, helping those folks who are already using SAP get more out of their solution. So this is kind of the main reason for this webinar. And So I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to explaining how we will help you get more out of SAP.
Hi, I'm Richard Whittington. I have the privilege of running SAP's global media and entertainment industry. Many of you on the call are customers, so thank you. Before SAP, I was a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, then IBM, in the media and entertainment practice. So I've been in this industry for quite a while. We, as SAP, power most of the major media companies in the world, which is an honor, privilege, and a challenge. And so I'm looking forward to a lively conversation and lots of questions today.
Awesome. Thanks to our speakers. So next, I really just want to do a little exercise, get everyone a little bit loosened up, get everyone engaged in the presentation. And so we have a poll for you, and you can answer that poll directly in GoToWebinar. So what is your favorite streaming program? So select one of the following. We got Ted Lasso, which I admit I have not seen, The Crown, Game of Thrones, and then Stranger Things if you're into something a little bit darker. So take a moment here and go ahead and put your vote in. All right, let's see the results here. Ooh, pretty even split. We got 30% going in for Ted Lasso, 30% The Crown, Stranger Things, and only 10% for Game of Thrones. Very interesting. So awesome, great guys. Well, I'll have to hit up some of those programs myself. Next, I really want to pass it along to James, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the challenges that we're currently seeing in the media and entertainment.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. Next slide, please. 23 years ago, when I started in this industry, I was with MGM, and the top-selling titles were on VHS and at retail, and that was Roadhouse and Overboard. Yes, I'm dating myself. And back then, if a release had done poorly at theatrical, it was able to make up for the box office losses when it was released in home video. Well, those days don't exist anymore. So it's all about streaming. It's all about subscribers, and that requires quality and quantity, for streaming. And technology is always enabled the studios and entertainment organizations ability to pivot, especially when it was around the physical supply chain, which eventually moved into the digital supply chain. And now with the massive demands that we're having, because there are roughly about 14,000 streaming companies at the global level, and they're either on demand or live streaming, and that's pretty massive. And this shift is is accelerated. Everything from the theatrical demand into obviously the home streaming, and those models, those financial models, have totally upended. So, for example, A talent is now moved into episodic and TV. The pay scales, up for above the line talent, are all drawn by the dollar per point model, and the amount of demand that you could see down at the bottom of this slide, where there's so many releases going on for home streaming, episodic, and television. That level of demand is what we're here to talk about, because that is happening upstream. That is being felt by those that are approving content, that are the creators, the legal, the budgeting, and the finance. So the pressure is on them to get more throughput into the hopper, if you will. And which ones are right, which ones are within cost control, that could be managed and leveraged to meet the demand through the consumers that are moving from one streaming service to another, how to keep them invested into that streaming organization, the brand, the concept, and it's becoming more and more difficult because of this level of demand and pressure within way upstream. And the other challenges that are being faced as well is the part of the old Hollywood meeting new Hollywood is also the culture, meaning that for decades these groups have been kind of isolated with certain levels of advanced technologies. And now, because the visibility is on that in the front end and the production side and the finance side, it is something that hasn't been heavily viewed and invested in. And organizations like the Netflixes and the Amazons that are very, very tech heavy and driven by technology, but now are being infused more and more with people that have come from the production lines, come from the traditional studio style of business, and it's an interesting contrast in how to merge those two cultures. Now I will pass it on to Richard to give his view from SAP's S/4HANA view on the industry.
Hey, James, thank you. If we could just, I mean, I was just listening to what you were saying, and, I'm lucky enough in this role to be at the center of many of these finance transformations right now, be they NBCU, be they Warner Bros. Discovery, Warner Music, which is also obviously going through transformation too, or Disney. And, we had to evolve too, right? As your customers evolved, as you evolved, SAP had to evolve. And so one of the things we did on a reflective basis is two things. One, first of all, we basically acknowledge that the value chain doesn't really change that much, right? So you make the stuff, you distribute the stuff, you analyze the audience, and then you account and amortize and count the cash on the other end. So that didn't fundamentally change. What changed underneath it, though, was a movement to the cloud. So we as a company made this decision probably around about 2010-ish to go cloud first. Stock took a hit, but it's on its way back. As part of that, though, we started to break up the process into different Lego bricks. We like to use the term Lego bricks. So you can see here on this page, really a concept of something called the Intelligent Suite, which is made up of a number of Lego bricks from SAP, be they finance, be they billing and revenue, be they travel and expense with, say, Concur. But they all kind of get wrapped in this thing called the Intelligent Suite. But that doesn't cover the full end-to-end value chain for media. So what we did was we said, look, we have this concept called the Business Technology Platform that the Intelligent Suite sits on. So that's the same database, the same analytics, same user experience, some of these new technologies like AI, RPA, machine learning. How can we extend that Intelligent Suite to account for very industry-specific processes without building those industry-specific processes necessarily in the Intelligent Suite? Because as industry boundaries blur, you need the flexibility to be in a different industry tomorrow than you are today. And so we have this concept called the industry cloud, and invenioLSI are part of that industry cloud around concept approval, content amortization, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. But if you could click the slide one more, please. What we did, we said, let's lift those Lego bricks out of the diagram here and join the ones together that we need to support the concept approval through to all the way to the title P&L at the other end. And some of those bricks will come from SAP and some of those bricks will come from partners. But the concept here underneath this is at the business technology platform level, we all want to share the same data. The days of moving the data around are somewhat numbered. The days of a disparate user experience across these applications are numbered as the war for talent, and the expectations of our employees that come to work are that they are consuming their technology at work much the same way that they're consuming it at home. And so we built this concept of the media industry cloud. It's very flexible. There's a recognition, for example, that depending on your own particular setup, you may have solutions in place for rights and royalties are not part of our industry cloud, but then we would want to integrate those through common APIs. But this sort of concept of the industry cloud is sort of paramount, no pun intended, it's sort of paramount to the way that you're going to consume technology to support the business changes that James has alluded to. So for example, if I use a customer example, one of these bricks, billing and revenue, is being deployed right now very strongly at Disney. So we were with them when Disney Plus launched at about 3 million subs to, I believe, is 164 million now in every country they work in. So manage the complexity of the revenue streams on the back end as you spread the content across different distribution channels and or different consumption models, be they SVOD, be they AVOD, is very key. NBC are also doing that. Warner Brothers Discovery are doing that to manage the complexity of the revenue on the back end. One of the other things that's kind of key here is the title P&L. There was a recognition in our legacy systems that the title P&L, the number of levels you could go to in terms of season, episode, franchise, tentpole, was not flexible enough. So we increased that in S4 as part of the suite there. And so we really have tried to bring the best of breed packaging here with things like content financials by invenioLSI to the forefront here in a pre-integrated way based on the business technology platform. So Shyam, I think I hand to you now to do a double click, if you like, on content financials and some of those blue Lego bricks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Richard. So you can see, how SAP has developed technology that meets a variety of needs throughout the media content value chain. One thing, as James alluded to, the distribution models are changing. With the digital distribution model, there's tremendous pressure on revenues. But guess what? The cost of content continues to go up. So that's our challenge here. And in order to do that, we need technology that can help us manage the cost of content financials. And that's exactly what invenioLSI's content financials product does. So this product sits on top of the standard SAP system. And what it does is it integrates and facilitates the entire content financials value chain within SAP. So, starting from the content approval process, there is an actual content approval form that can then be routed to different people for approval. There's a deal memo, there's procurement controls. So for example, you could feed all the acquisition requirements to different procurement processes within SAP. Then of course, you can use SAP payables to make payments, etc. You can track your content inventory, you can capitalize the content and then amortize it over time, do allocations, all these things. So why is this important? What we are seeing is a lot of our customers, they're using SAP as their financial system, but they're focused pretty much on operational financials. So, your consolidation and group reporting or company level reporting, your accounts payable and receivables, how you make payments, receive payments, etc. But then, if you talk about content production and content production accounting, all of that is being handled in a separate system. And that's assuming there is one central system. Many cases, there are no central systems. Each production manager or project manager is using something that sits on their desktop or something similar, maybe even spreadsheets. So, now you've got this problem that the production system is completely outside the SAP or ERP area. And that means now you have to integrate that data back to SAP, or maybe it's never integrated, you only track the data at a high level within SAP. So there's basically a lot of room here for transformation, for improvement. So what we would say is you can bring that entire content production financial system into SAP. So what that allows you to do then is track the costs against the budget. So you get better budgetary control over your production costs. You can integrate all of the other sort of pieces of costs. So whether it's a procurement costs, you can have travel costs, you can have time for your employees. Even, we have a lot of contingent workforce people, talent that is contracted out. So we have a product called Fieldglass in SAP that allows you to qualify the talent, make sure they have, all the right security certification for content security, they have, they're able to enter their time into the field glass system. They're able to, all the statements of work with them and the payments that are due to them, all of those contractual terms can be tracked in the field glass system. Of course, in addition, if you're using a rights management system, such as RSG or Vistax, you can integrate to that as well. So really, it brings together the data from all these different systems into SAP, and that then allows you to track and analyze all that information to determine what kind of financing you need, how are you performing overall. And this is not happening periodically, it's happening day to day and real time. So all your analytics can be handled real time within the main system. Next slide, please. And with this, I'm going to pass on to our great presenters here to do a demo of the content financial system. So over to you, Caroline.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Shyam. So yeah, so what we're going to do is dive into the demo portion of our presentation today. And so the demo that you're going to be seeing here is actually built on S/4HANA. And so that's great because what you really are going to see is a holistic view of the data, right? And because it's built on Fiori, you're also going to get that really great user interface as well. Another thing that you're going to be seeing in this demo is that you can access this system on any device anywhere, right? So on your smartphone, on your tablet, on your laptop, in the air, on the train. This is great for these hybrid work environments we're now working in due to COVID. But you're really going to be able to get full access to the system anywhere, which is great. The other thing is that, because it's built on SAP S/4HANA, really what you're going to get is the view of the data in your S/4HANA systems, which is awesome as well. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and play this demo for you today, and then we'll pick it back up.
Invenio's content financial solution for the media industry is designed to help you make faster, better financial decisions by creating a streamlined, automated process to increase the financial efficiency throughout the content creation, acquisition, and utilization process. Built on SAP's Digital Core S/4HANA solution and certified on SAP App Center, it's ready to help you in your transformational journey with SAP. The following short demo is designed to give you an overview of some of the features of the Invenio content financial solution. So let's look at an overview of the system components. Here we start with the concept approval form. When a member of the team comes up with an idea, they need approval from superiors. The concept approval form is an efficient way to showcase an idea across the pre-designed workbase for feedback and approvals. Once this concept approval form is approved, it's developed into a deal memo. The deal memo is a summary of the concept or acquisition and goes into budget details, production house choices, lead talents, and staffing contracts. Once the deal memo is approved, the standard SAP elements are created automatically and procurement starts. POs will automatically be created. Once the services have been delivered or rendered, the service receipts are created and subsequent invoicing posted automatically. Inventory recognition is an important step as this inventory will soon become IP on the balance sheet. It's at this point the inventory recognition and amortization principles are defined for the organization. Now, with this basic understanding of the system components, let's have a look at the solution. In this demo, we'll be showcasing some key features to the solution, including the concept approval form, deal memo, milestone achievement, content receipt, inventory recognition, and amortization. Most of these stages are developed by Invenio, with some standard SAP Fiori applications such as My Inbox, procurement, invoicing settlements, and amortization. From the Launchpad, we can access the concept approval form. Here you can capture key information like content type and category, nature of the program, for example, co-production meaning a collaboration between in-house and a third-party production house. Other fields are configurable and can be adjusted to customer needs. Typical information captured includes genre, subgenre, number of episodes, average duration, estimated release date, and estimated budget cost. In this form, the creative department will document what the concept is all about, including a synopsis. Once the concept is approved in principle, the budget is still at a broad level. This will be amended in the deal memo as negotiations are finalized. Deal memo is at the heart of the Invenio content financial solution and is a central place for capturing all the details related to a production like budgets, artist contracts, vendor contracts, basic rights information, and milestone achievements. We will touch upon some of the key areas of the deal memo here. Every deal memo has a version number, which changes as it gets updated. At this stage, the detailed budgets are entered in the system. Budgets can be created for in-house, production house, or both, depending on the nature of the program. These budgets are configurable, depending on the organization needs and industry standards. Once the costs have been entered into the deal memo, the system apportions this cost equally across each of the episodes. You have the flexibility here to change any episode costs, such as the pilot episode or for the grand finale. You have the ability to create artist or talent contracts as part of the deal memo. Each artist contract can have more detailed information such as number of episodes contracted for and milestone payments. Naturally, this depends on the organization and how they've negotiated milestones as to how this is configured. There can be many more than 2 milestones per artist. Apart from the talent contracts, vendor contracts is a critical element of deal memo, especially with production houses. The production house contracts also capture cost per episode, delivery format, and delivery dates. As and when the content is received, the delivery date will be updated, and the payment linked with delivery is initiated. We also capture basic level rights information like the start date, the end date, the validity, territory restrictions, and the number of runs that are allowed. The next part is the schedule and expected viewership ratings. Various departments such as marketing, revenue, commercial, and finance departments contribute here to come up with projected revenue numbers based on expected viewership ratings. This now provides the basis of the P&L document, which allows the stakeholders to make decisions such as whether to create in-house, co-produce, or outsource. Now the budgets have been assigned in the deal memo, POs have been created, and services are being rendered, we can now start booking expenses. Almost invariably, the vendor and artist payments are linked with milestone achievement. This could be triggered by a target date or an event such as an interface telling our system that the content has been received. The system initiates the release of the payments linked to this milestone. The subsequent processing is done automatically. At this stage, the costs are captured against the budget and deal memo is updated to reflect the real-time status of budget versus spend and the amount remaining at hand to spend for the future. As the system has been automated for the content financial solution, we've cut out 3 or 4 pages of navigation through various stages of cost booking. The inventory recognition is programmed so that once you've received the content, you'll be able to recognize the inventory. This process can also be triggered through an interface. When content receipt is confirmed, the inventory recognition will progress. We're now going to look at inventory recognition. The content has been received and the inventory is good to be recognized. We can record the actual amount paid to the production house and provide for the rest of the value to recognize the inventory at 100% value. This is a calculation engine we've built so the system will automatically provide the deficit value in the system. Finally, we come to the amortization part, which is based on a standard SAP depreciation transaction. This will post the depreciation of the inventory to the final books of accounts, a process usually carried out by the finance department. Our solution allows you to create a flexible matrix for defining amortization rules. You can amortize your assets using various methods like run-based, time-based, or revenue-based rules to amortize your content. This was a demonstration of some of the key functionality of the Invenio content financial solution, from creation of the concept to inventory recognition and amortization. As highlighted in the demo, the solution is highly customizable to individual company requirements, and with the in-depth knowledge of our media consultants, we will be able to advise you on how this can enhance and streamline your business.
Awesome. Great. So we can go ahead to the next slide. I hope you enjoyed that demo. I'm going to play again real quick. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it along to actually back to Shyam. Shyam, can you walk us through some of the benefits that we just saw?
Yeah, absolutely, Caroline. I mean, as it is, you know that you're getting the power of SAP technology to manage your financials, which itself is a pretty large benefit because you can do analytics in the transaction processing system without pulling the data to a data warehouse. No data warehouse required. You can do all your analytics directly in the transaction processing system in real time. I think in addition to that, what the content financials piece offers is, you have a design that's specific to the media industry. Your terminology, such as, deal or concept, all those things are taken care of. So from a user perspective, it's a pretty easy way to, adopt the new technology. The adoption difficulties are reduced considerably. The other thing you're getting is best practice for managing the content lifecycle. So essentially, all the different accounting standards, how you do this, the streamlining of the different processes is all handled due to the design of this product. You have integration of all the operations with SAP and controlling. So you're using a completely integrated system. You update data in one part of the system, it automatically shows up in the other part of the system completely updated. You don't have any breaks, you don't have to rekey anything, it's all handled. And it's all handled real time. There is a role in task-based design, so each user app can be provided to those who need to use it. You probably want to control who can approve content, for example. So you can definitely set up the roles according to your organization. So this is a pretty good improvement over those standalone or point systems that don't have all this capability. Everything is workflow supported. That means there's electronic approvals for everything. You can use it on your mobile device and you can approve on your mobile device. There's electronic notifications if you're delayed or you want to escalate, you want to move things along. A lot of the repetitive processes, typically, for example, amortization, are fully automated and rule-based. Even the capitalization of the inventory is completely rule-based, so you really don't need any human intervention to accomplish these processes. So obviously that reduces the amount of effort and time you have to spend on this. And then finally, because we are leveraging SAP's latest intelligent technologies like machine learning for pattern identification, and also rule definition for supporting users, all of those functions allow you to reduce the effort required, make it easier for users to use, and overall achieve what we call digital transformation of your content financials process. Next slide, please. So overall, what does that result for you and your organization? Well, first of all, you're going to get tighter budget controls. Controlling production costs is one of the biggest challenges in the world of media finance. You don't want to be fighting with the creatives, and they say, well, you're kind of overbearing. It's best, let the system talk to both of you. Tell the creatives when they're going over the budget, and then you have the ability to actually bring that to your attention too. Obviously, with more information, the hope is you can make better decisions. And of course, currently you may not have all this information to make decisions at all. And if you have it, it may still require a significant amount of effort to aggregate and to analyze, to update, and make sure it's reconciled, right? So all of that, since it's in one system and it's real time, it reduces the amount of effort required to process the data to make it ready for analytics. And that's a pretty important benefit of this system. And then overall, as we introduce more analytics, it increases the visibility of all your costs and revenues and what the drivers are for these costs and revenues. And that helps a lot in your understanding of the economics of content financials and content production and distribution. So with all this, we are making that happen because SAP offers, some significant analytics tools in the new system. And so these are, again, real time in the transaction processing system and very, very useful for everybody. With that, I'm going to pass it back to the panel, I guess.
Sorry. I was gonna say, if I could just add something to that, I think there's sometimes a perception like this is great, but this is only something that the big guys can afford. I think what we've seen, and I think if I use some examples like Bavaria Films in Germany or Big Tree Entertainment in India, we can scale down, right? So I think there was a period of time in this industry when only the major studios, for example, in our examples here, could afford SAP. But I think with the evolution of cloud and the evolution of a public cloud offering, the scalability goes down and up. So I think that was something that I felt was really important to emphasize here.
Yeah, absolutely, Richard. I think it's important to understand that majority of SAP's customer, nearly 80%, are actually small and medium-sized businesses. So this is where we think that this system is useful for a whole spectrum of businesses that can use it.
Thanks so much, everyone. And so now we're going to kind of put our panelists on the spot a little bit. I want to have just kind of an open discussion. We have a couple questions lined up for them that I think would be great to get their insight on. And so to kind of dive right into this portion here, you said that, small and mid-sized businesses, this is a great solution for them. And, SAP is the financial system of record in the media and entertainment industry today. But Richard, this is actually specifically for you. So where should we be heading? Where does the future hold? Next 5 years, where should we be going?
Vacation, because it'll all be automated. No, I think it's a good question. And I think if you go back 5 years, as we talked about old Hollywood and new Hollywood, it's a tough question to answer. But I do think what we will see is continuing evolution on business models. I think we'll see some consolidation. I mean, we're seeing it, for example, with Warner Brothers Discovery, we're seeing these consolidations going on in the industry. I think Shyam alluded to the escalating, spiraling costs around production. I think 2020 was a pandemic year. So if we use the 2019 number, I think the number was like 118 billion amongst the top 10 customers in the US. I think as we move perhaps into a recessionary economy, there'll be a focus on those costs and bringing those costs in to the financial systems of record SAP to be able to look at those in real time and say, yeah, it would be great to reshoot that, but we really can't, or it would be great to travel to some other country to do a sort of a piece of the content, and those decisions I think will be made much more in real time. I think the other thing that's on the sort of horizon here though is sustainability. I think we often hear the term the green ledger. So one of the benefits of bringing the content financial data in is also to look at the sustainability aspect of a production and look at also what tax incentives are there as I greenlight a project if I'm a more sustainable production. So does that mean, for example, sourcing goods locally from recycled cotton, which Sony Pictures did for Spider-Man? So I think you're going to see increasing focus on costs, increasing focus on real-time analytics, and a shift towards a more sustainable industry over the next 5 years. And let's not forget the battle for consumer eyeballs and churn and doing predictive modeling around who's going to churn and who's not going to churn. I think there's one of those issues. I think it's one of the most pressing issue right now is how do you keep, we used the poll at the beginning, right? So how do I not prevent Richard hanging up on Apple TV after Ted Lasso season 2? I think that evolution, this direct to consumer evolution that's going to happen in the studios is something that is not natural because we've been typically a B2B business, but it's going to be something that again is the battleground. Sorry for a long answer to a short question.
Yeah, Shyam's recipe for 100% sustainability: move everything to CGI.
Perfect. Great, thank you so much, Richard. And so I actually want to touch back on, production costs here. I know, Shyam, it's something that you previously mentioned as well. Why is it so difficult to gain insight into actual production costs?
Is that for me, Caroline?
That's for you, Shyam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I mean, I think the main things that stand in our way is, number one, there's a lot of different systems being involved here. We've got separate systems, sometimes for HR, sometimes for procurement, And production accounting is a whole different world. I mean, there are people who are still using systems that are installed on someone's laptop, for example, right? So there's a lot of fragmentation of systems. There isn't enough integration, right? That's the fundamental problem. And I think, of course, when you start to change these systems, the system that they always hated suddenly becomes their favorite system because you're about to replace it, right? So that's just nature of human beings. I mean, who moved my cheese, right? So we obviously bring together a lot of organizational change management capability to help with that. But yeah, ultimately it's all about integrating the systems so that your workflow is fully integrated and also supported by an integrated system.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The three things are definitely the tools that are being used today are manual or single use. You can't manage that level of demand and complexity on email and Excel or printed off PDFs. The integrations too, lack thereof. Just Shyam said, that they're all kind of black box and work within a certain segment, but don't connect with the rest of the organization where you can't match forecast to actuals. And then there's a culture, as I said earlier, where the traditional culture of studios and studio-based processing and management of information is meeting up, the high-tech industry, which is all about, moving the information and the data very efficiently. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, James.
Yeah, I think just to add one other piece into that, Caroline. I mean, I think the other exciting thing, I think this is really exciting, is the recognition that media companies are no longer distribution siloed, and everything is becoming content centric. And so, the sort of make it once, distribute it many model. So there's a lot of focus on that ROI and return on that content. And the other piece that's kind of interesting, so you have a concept of, the consumer as well. You have the consumer lifetime value, and people are now looking at the content lifetime value. And I think those two pieces coming together are the thing that is really exciting, or is the thing that is really exciting for the industry as it transforms. And Shyam's point is valid. Some people will call him Caroline. Shyam's point is valid in the sense that people are at the center of this too. There's a reluctance to change in the sense that, production accountants, for example, have always used a particular way of doing a production for an accounting basis. But I think the level of spend and the pressure on the bottom line driven by the competition in the industry is going to change that. It has to.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you, Richard. And so James, I want to bounce to you a little bit, because your expertise in the media and entertainment industry, let's get real, are they maximizing their technology like SAP?
I have to say no. In my SAP, as we said earlier, is the financial system of record. If you look across here in the US, there are 7 out of the 9 major streaming studio organizations are on SAP. And my work across all of these different organizations in some shape or form, I would say that it's like owning they have this great tool, and it's like owning a Lexus, but just to play the radio. And there's so much value there that they have to pull out to really maximize this investment, and also to reduce the amount of other bolted on or integrated technologies that probably are not necessary because SAP's technology can manage. There's some organizations that are running 300 to 400 different tools bolted into SAP when it should be the reverse, in a sense, in some cases. So no, there's great opportunity of leveraging that investment.
Awesome.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, I think we also own some of the responsibility, right? To use your analogy, which made me smile because I hadn't heard that one. We built a Lexus that was expensive, right? And as the industry is evolving here, we need to make that Lexus not only cheaper and easier to drive, but we also need to make it more affordable over the long haul. And we need to recognize trends, again, maybe overstretching the analogy, like electronic vehicles or electric vehicles. And so this movement to cloud first, and I think content financials is a great example of innovation at the edge. So there's a recognition that SAP cannot compete across 25 industries with the speed of innovation. And so looking at partners like invenioLSI to build innovation at the edge on top of BTP, S4, is kind of the key to our success going forward.
Great, thanks, Richard. And so, Shyam, I actually want to bounce back to you now. So what modules or functionality should the industry be considering?
That's a great question, Caroline. I mean, I think we have to go beyond financials, right? I think one thing you will learn about SAP products is you'll never outgrow SAP systems, because there's such a vast amount of functionality available that you can, as you grow or add more and more functions, you can have a completely integrated, modular ERP that gives you the best functionality in each area. To just give you an example, if you're looking at procurement, a lot of other ERPs, they would ask you to sort of look for a third-party product so you can integrate to a procurement system that's really what you need. SAP already has SAP Ariba, it has SAP Concur. So, these are all functions that are, superior to most of the systems that are on offer out there, but they fully integrate the entire process of, bidding out your work, awarding contracts, managing contracts, working out purchase orders, goods receipts, invoice processing, all of that with a vendor network, right? So you're not using old style EDI or older technologies like that. This is a vendor network where all your interactions with your suppliers are going to be electronic. You don't have to use paper at all. And then all the invoice processing is also automatic. The vendor enters the invoice directly in the system. So even before it reaches you, it's already, matching your PO and things like that. In the same way, looking at talent management, on the talent side, especially employee talent, you can use, recruiting, onboarding, performance and goals, learning management, compensation management, all from SAP's great talent suite called SuccessFactors. You have, of course, payroll and that sort of, core HR functionality as well. So again, like I said before, integration matters, right? You can have some kinds of integration, loose integration, for example. You run your payroll and you post the results into your financial system. That's also called integration, but that's not tight integration. Tight integration is where all your employees and their security, their qualifications, their value, their performance are all being tracked in the same integrated system that you are running your financials in. So, that's where it starts to matter, because, when your employee leaves you, you want to terminate all of their privileges, including their privileges for accessing content immediately, right? And you want to do it with one keystroke, not with, several interfaces and migrations of data and so on. So that's where, SAP really shines, because of its, vast amount of functionality and full integration that is offered by SAP systems.
So one thing I'd like to double click on that too, because, I think it's a good example during COVID, right? I mean, the way that people got paid, the suppliers, like the hairdressers, the makeup artists, was very manual. It was, it was basically checks. And then suddenly COVID happened. We wanted to continue production when we could. We had to find a different way of basically paying people, paying small suppliers. And, our procurement solution was quite challenging in that sense, right? It wasn't really built for individual suppliers. And so we went out to fintech, the financial tech industry, and said, is there a partner out there, again, different partner than invenioLSI, but is there a partner out there that could fulfill supplier onboarding for gig economy workers? And so we then, built the integrations, or are building the integrations from that small partner into Ariba to make it easy for this industry in particular, which I think is important, for this industry to be able to pay its small economy workers, which is very unique to media. So sorry, again, I know I took up a lot of the time today, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having, partner-based solutions, or, in today's world, if you want a full-scale solution, something like Fieldglass, those are all great for, external workforces, which, as you know, is very common in the media business, because talent can be in your house or outside your house. You should be able to use it seamlessly.
Absolutely.
Especially with the vendor community, when it comes down to pre-approved, audited, certified, secure vendor lists, rather than going through a manual process of email or separate system to check, they could all be integrated and automated. To have those vendors already released, they're going into production, post-production, distribution, and it kind of streamlines the whole purchasing and content security process.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And so we do have to move on now to audience questions here. So if you don't mind going to the next slide. This is kind of an opportunity for you guys that are listening and watching to put in your questions. Like I said, you can put that in directly in GoToWebinar. It should be on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll kind of read them as they first come in. So take a moment, think about your questions, go ahead and pop it into the chat. While we're waiting for your questions to kind of come in, again, I just want to ask this one last question because I think it's super important. James mentioned old Hollywood meets new Hollywood. He referenced the challenges around culture and process. And this could be for Shyam, or anyone can really jump in, but can you offer any insight on solving this challenge?
I think the big ticket here that's being overlooked in a lot of the organizations is understanding the complexity of humans. And our approach, or one of the most successful approaches that I've seen, not only with here at invenioLSI, but in my history, is the organizational change management part of assessing what is currently happening within the humans, their processes, with their roles, with the technologies that they're using, and helping an organization map that to what their goals are within 1-3 years, and saying these things have to change within training, within tools, within how the allocations of humans are placed within an organization. Because again, the meeting merging between old Hollywood and new Hollywood is getting to be much more complex than people think, and that is actually creating a bottleneck from what I've seen. Shyam, I don't know if you have.
No, absolutely, James. I mean, I'll tag on to that. Organizational change management is at once the biggest challenge and the most essential one. So, without good organizational change management, it's very hard to capture the benefits of your transformation. So, after all, in the end, the people who make that transformation happen are people, right? It's your employees, your people who use the system. The system is a tool that they use, but ultimately the transformation happens in their minds. And that is very, very important for anybody who wants to implement technology to understand. Well, how do you make that change happen? We bring a very systematic approach to it, starting with identification of stakeholders and power centers, and making sure that the appropriate folks are involved to drive change from above, and then also below them at the lowest level, we create change by creating a pull, by showing people how their jobs will improve if they're using these new tools. It's something that should be, it's just like if you and I got a better iPhone or a better computer, we are able to do things that we couldn't do before, right? That's what it's all about. And I think that's something that's not always explained to the average user. And that's something we really emphasize in our projects.
Great, awesome, thank you so much. So we do have one question here. Earlier in the presentation, it was mentioned that there are about 14,000 streaming sites globally. What can SAP offer to those organizations that are growing but struggling to manage their business process from end to end?
right? I mean, I think ultimately all streaming sites have to get content, and whether they acquire that content or they produce that content, there is a complex supply chain behind the streaming site, whether the distribution point. So ultimately, that really is also where SAP is able to provide tools and capability for them to manage all of that. But don't forget that on the front end side, there is, subscriber management. And I think subscription management in SAP, even though it's a little bit new, is something that's pretty useful. And we've been using subscription management for various industries, not just for streaming. But I think streaming is one industry that could very much benefit by automating that whole process.
Awesome. Thanks, Shyam. So we are at 3 o'clock. We are at time. If we go ahead to the next slide here, just in closing, really, I think these conversations were awesome. Thank you to all of our panelists today, Richard, Shyam, James. Your insight is so appreciated when it comes to content financials. And I want to thank the audience as well for joining in, for listening, and please make sure that at the end of this webinar, you do our survey. Again, we want to hear from you.